Welcome to BizTech Forward, your go-to podcast for cutting-edge insights at the intersection of business and technology. Let's move forward together.
Hi there, welcome back to our special recap of BizTech Forward Season 2. I'm Annie, your host, and what a great season we've had. And let's have a look at the highlights. From stuffed sharks to data, this was my favorite episode title. It's the one where Doron Fagelson, Senior Vice President of Media and Entertainment at DataArt, walked us through how technology is transforming art, from online marketplaces to how younger collectors are very much changing the game. Here is more from that fascinating chat.
And I think definitely art businesses are trying to think through more how they can leverage data as an asset. And I think two of the big ways that it's certainly being implemented and leveraged, one is the actual digitization of information about art. So all the ways that you can enrich and augment artworks with metadata that's meaningful and that really provides descriptive attributes of data, how you're categorizing the different artworks and how you can then use that to really provide great curation on your gallery website or your online platform. That is really essential to helping the collector find artworks more easily and discover things, and really helping artists to promote their work as well. So that's one area, is really the whole aspect of data enhancing the artworks as objects and as assets. And then the other area is very much the focus on the end user and the collector of some of these tools and platforms. So data is really very much helping companies to understand buying behavior, helping to analyze different collectors in terms of their preferences, their behavior, right, their buying habits and their history, and therefore offer them much better insights and recommendations. So for me, I think why data is so core to the art trade is that it really is a very important foundation for how you're able to personalize to collectors better and help to improve the discovery process, especially for online art marketplaces today that have so many hundreds of thousands of works in some cases. And it's really also how businesses can create this sort of like digital footprint or digital collector profile based on the interests and the tastes of the collector, how they interact online, what artists they follow, which pages they visited, and how many times they might engage with a certain artist or genre of art. And then, of course, the more accurate you can make that collector profile, and the more sort of data attributes you can add and collect and maintain to describe artworks, the better your personalized recommendations to collectors will be. So it's very much, I think, a backbone of how platforms are managing art collections and inventory online, and really central to businesses trying to show their customers more relevant artwork to those collectors' needs.
Greg Abbott, head of travel, transportation, and hospitality at DataArt, brought 3 decades of travel tech experience to discuss how the industry is evolving. We talked about AI, real-time data, and what's working and what's overhyped. Let's hear more.
I used to share a statistic. It was more last year's results, but based on the one of the hyperscalers had shared some data around the number of proof of concepts in AI that actually got to production. And I think last year the number was 4%. So not a lot of it made it to production. This year, one of the hyperscalers shared that it's up to 11%. So I think we're making progress. And I think that a lot of what you're seeing, or maybe you're not seeing yet, has been work that's behind the scenes in democratizing the data required to power the models that are going to perform the activities that companies need to do to serve up offerings and personalize components of your journey. I think the one place that you're probably seeing it, of course, if you follow the dollar, you usually get to the heart as quickly as possible. And I think revenue management and predictive analytics around pricing, which we've done a lot of work in this particular area, I think this is at a place where you may find that you go shopping for one thing and you don't decide to buy it, and you come back and the price is different almost like in 3 or 4 minutes later. It's near real time in terms of being able to suck money out of your pocket. Companies are looking to maximize the dollar that they can earn from their people purchasing their goods and services. So I think, where it's hitting you is probably AI is, and again, this is machine learning and AI is touching people in sort of revenue management offerings, obviously the retailing and what you're seeing in advertising. You're seeing things near real time when you talk about something, and probably even now they're listening to us. And so you go back web search and your results would be travel oriented to some degree. So again, I'm weaving into a number of different areas on that topic, but I think it is like it's going to become fabric. So the AI tools are going to be ubiquitous. They're going to touch every aspect of our daily lives, and we as humans are going to be using them to be more and more productive. And it's already taking place, but a lot of it is kind of under the surface and not touching the travel experience just yet. But I believe that's why it's an exciting time to be in travel, because once we democratize that data and build modern data platforms, it unlocks all of the advanced AI tools. And you can see how fast things are moving with, OpenAI. At the beginning of the year, they launched their agentic models, and daily you read about somebody new. So one of the new companies offering new use cases for their tools that companies are going to ingest, and now it's more about speed, like who can move faster, adopt the right tools, and sort of overhaul their companies and their organizations to become, so like what we call it, the AI-fication of everything. I think that's our next steps in the journey. So,
Olesya Khokhulia, VP Enterprise Accounts at DataArt, shared really interesting things about what enterprise clients expect from technology partners. We discussed how relationships have changed and those quiet signals that build trust. Here is a bit from that discussion.
Well, for me, business, it's always relationship. So I never seen a successful business case without successful relationship and trust behind them. So in my opinion, trust always was a key factor. And my vision is that you have to spend all your time with the customers. You have to be in their office. You have to understand how their organization is working. You should know them like as people, as your friends. You should spend time together. Even if it's formal conservative environment, when sometimes it's not allowed to have like informal communications with the partner or vendor, still, even here, you have to build relationship, because at the end, it's always what brings better results rather than just, vendor customer relationship without real people behind them. So I would say trust is the most important thing, and you have to prove yourself. This is what competition is about, right? There are many good companies, and I always respect the competition. There are many good companies that basically may do the same. They may be a very successful development partner for a particular customer, but at the end, it's just a matter of chemistry, whether you have a chemistry with stakeholders, company, product of the company, their mission, so their culture, if you want. If you have really many common factors and common beliefs, if you want, then you will be successful in this cooperation. That's my philosophy, at least.
And we wrapped up with Alexey Utkin, head of Data and Analytics Lab at DataArt, for a candid conversation about what's actually happening in data. He did not hold back. We talked about myths companies cling on to and why your data strategy might be just wishful thinking. Let's listen to that honest take.
A lot of clients expect, AI to do a lot of like engineering and coding, etc. I think, as I said, what I see now, realistically, you're talking about 10-20% of productivity gain at most. And that's something comparable. Like one of my colleagues compares, 10-15 years ago, there was a big adoption of visual IDs, the development tools which engineers use to code. And they oftentimes have this, also completion of your statements, etc., etc. That was a clear productivity gain, maybe of order more than 20%, really for developers who use these tools compared to those who didn't. So it's not that that didn't happen in kind of coding or engineering industry, advancement of tools, which really is a big productivity gain. And I think of AI along these lines. From what I see today, and I have some hands-on experience, and some of my colleagues do as well, I think the demand for strong specialists and expert is actually, arguably even higher, because sort of coding agents, the co-pilots, of etc., they they give you a code, but they don't really think instead of you. That you in terms of like architecture, design, all these things, you still need to know very precisely what you're going for, and then be able to validate the outputs for sure. So that's that's certainly a thing. Although there are some kind of niche cases where I think AI is for engineering, AI is really giving you productivity greater than before. So, for example, working with documentation. So if you're using any kind of library framework, which has 500 pages of documentation, and it's the first time you're using it, for sure having AI which is able to talk to this documentation is rather helpful. So we kind of see these things, but I also a little bit worried here about even like satisfaction of work for engineers, because this might take 10-20% of productivity gain at the cost of whatever huge percentage of reduction in satisfaction for the experts, really, because instead of doing a creative work where you build something and it works, etc., you end up cleaning up the mess after what the AI has generated, and you're kind of doing it all the day because it generates the mess on steroids. So that's something to think about as well, to a certain degree. I think that's something we need to deal with in the long run as well.
And that's a wrap on season 2. From client expectations to Latin America's boom, from art evolution to travel tech, we covered so much ground. Thank you to all of our guests, and thank you to you for listening. That's all for now, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to BizTech Forward. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and share to help us reach more listeners. Thank you for being part of the conversation. See you next time.